This is the latest situation for the Liverpool Overhead Railway project, which Bob and I are working on at the moment, and this is to show you how far we've got by by the 13th of August 2020. So, and I'm doing this video as just as a free roaming view rather than following a particular session, because I just want to show you some of the models that we made and some of the difficulties that we faced and we've been struggling to overcome, but I think we're getting there. So this is starting with Dingle station, which we're going to be showing on the route as with the lid off, as it were, because this was an underground station, underground terminus at the south end of the Liverpool Overhead Railway, and there'll need to be the terminal building up here at ground level with stairs going down to the platform. But it's very early days yet. Bob is getting the track laid out, which will be eventually replaced with the correct Liverpool Overhead Railway three rail track, and it then enters a standard Oran tunnel, and then we come to the spot where we've had a lot of problems trying to fit everything in and work out just what's happening, which seems fairly straightforward, but of course it never is. So it actually exits an Oran tunnel there, and it comes around. This is Grafton Street, Toxteth Terrace Street, and then we come round to where the Liverpool Overhead exits the tunnel from Dingle, and it comes out, and there's a cliff face leading up to the street, and you can see there's a brick wall there along the street, and these are the oil casements that were dug into the cliff in the first half of the 19th century, and eventually there will be a Langston Yorks siding, oil siding running alongside them, although there are still a few things to do here. For example, the fume exhaust pipes up the top here need to be reduced in height because they've got to be underneath this bridge, so I've got a bit carried away on the height there, so I've got to adjust those to bring them down into conformity with the bridge, which took the line from Dingle into Herculaneum. And over here on this blank part here, we've got another section of cliff to bring in, and then there's another portal, railway portal, which brings in tracks at a very oblique angle. These are the Langston Yorks Railway line, so that's still got to be modelled and put into place, and we can have some fun with that. But this has proved very, very complicated, because the main problem is because of, as you can see here from the way the terrain is arranged, that's actually about a 20-metre height, by the way, from the dock side up to the level of Grafton Street, and it's really been quite a struggle for us to get everything to match together, including quite a few goes at the Dingle portal, and I don't feel we're there even yet. We've still got some way to go, but it's well advanced. And of course what you can see here are the docks, which Bob has been working on, and these are all using the dock walls and angles and splines to create these, and getting these into position has been a major achievement, I can assure you. It's a really big job, and if I zoom back you'll see how Bob's doing it. I think it'll appear. Where are we? There, oh, there it was, gone there. So this is the map that Bob is using as a guide. So it's Harrington Dock and then into Herculaneum Dock. So let's just go down. There it is. Now the dock gates, of course, are not as they were. They're not the actual gates, so we're going to be replacing all of them. So there's a number of placeholders in this layout, but already we're beginning to get a feel of the look of the docks and of the layout of the whole system. And Bob has been using, I think, every industrial building that's available from the download station in order to create the atmosphere that the docks had in their heyday. Well, here's the junction of the line from Dingle coming into Herculaneum. This is the new station at Herculaneum, and the old station was here, and this is the this became carriage sheds, and at the moment it's a scenery item with 2 tracks running in, and we've got to change that to a fixed track element so that it clicks together much more easily and is much more simple to use. Just looking at that, there's a corrugated roof with a sort of matchboard sides. You can see the extra width where the station originally occupied on the extended viaduct, and as far as we can make it, that's as accurate as we can make it, I think. And then through the junction, we've still got the 3rd rail to have a look at there, and into Herculaneum station. This will have to be replaced because it is a one of our sort of generic stations, and also there is a lengthy footbridge to be modelled, which will go from Herculaneum station and climb and be on long legs, tall legs, at a slight angle right the way up to the heights of where Grafton Street is. You can see the terrace is just the ground has been raised there to show you the height of it as a marker for us to work on. But really quite an area of intensive model making, I think. I'm just looking at it myself, and this is where Brocklebank Dock Brocklebank Depot is going to be. You can see Bob has put in a turntable there and a depot building, not the final one, and then there's a mass of tracks to come in here, and those will be served by a variety of Lancs and Yorks or ex-Lancs and Yorks locos. And then if we follow it round, and really we should be doing what people were invited to do. It was a selling point for the Liverpool Overhead, which was to have a good view of the docks and the shipping, and of course there's a lot of shipping to be done, to be brought in. So moving from Herculaneum Dock, moving northwards, then from Herculaneum Dock Station we're going through to Toxteth Dock. That's the next station along. Here we are, and if we look along, you can see the beginnings. I mean, out here is the Mersey, so there is an immense amount. And here you can see Bob is working on all this part, still working on all this part, to try and bring some sense to the whole network, to try and work out what's going on. And because we're just working from maps and from very few photographs. Well, north of Toxteth Dock, the next station along was Brunswick Dock. Again, we're using a just a basic station. If I go back there, I think we've got Toxteth in. I may have missed making the name board for Brunswick Dock Station. I must do that. But you can see here the classic coloured light signals, which were very, very modern for a railway in 1896. Very modern indeed. And just looking at that station also, I can see that the passenger positions are too close to the edge. Looks like some of them have got a death wish there, so we'll have to sort that out. The various odds and ends of walls and straight edges are guides that Bob uses to indicate where they're placeholders and guides for positioning different parts of the enormous dock layout. And it is our intention to model the railway, the Docks Railway, as well as the Liverpool Overhead. And I've been in touch with the creator of the beautiful Pug, little 040 Pug, and Skipper 1945, and he's agreed to let me reskin it, which I will do. So the little Lancs and Yorks pugs will run around in the docks, operating that. So here we are at Wapping Dock, the next one up, and you can see here already all the planning for the docks is beginning to come in. It's a very complicated thing to do. It doesn't look difficult when you look at the map, but when you start to actually try and do it, it's very complicated indeed. And of course it's full size, so so it really does take a lot of planning and a lot of work to get it even to this initial stage. So here we are at Custom House. This was flattened during the Second World War and was rebuilt as Canning dock station. And I think this is the Custom House, or I'm not sure. I should know, but I don't. But anyway, here's James Street Station. Maybe it's not the Custom House. Somebody would tell me, and I shall be suitably embarrassed that I don't know the buildings of Liverpool, but I know that that's one of them, one of the three, with the Liver building and whatever the other one is. And you can see here, this is where really we're getting close to this station, which is Pier Head, and that's the busy station, the one with all the glazed sections, and that was quite a bit of fun modelling that, I can assure you. I had a lot of all sorts of problems doing that. So there's Pier Head station, and then the way down to the Pier Head, down here, this is where Pier Head will eventually be. And from Pier Head we then go north, move north further, past a couple of bridges, over a couple of the bridges, distinctive. And there we are, look, there's the docks and liners, Liverpool Overhead Railway, Southport, Seaforth and Dingle. And one of the selling points was that you could, for the price of a return ticket, you could have a really good view of all the shipping that there was inside Liverpool docks. And there's another bridge with an advert for Walker's Imperial Stout in bottle, I'll have you know. And here we are with the heading towards Prince's Dock next, looks like it. And you can see here that Bob is raising and lowering Prince's half-tide dock. It's raising and lowering the maps that we're using as guides in order to act as a way of guiding him through the creation of these very complex dock shapes. You sort of think, well, it's a rectangle, isn't it, filled in with water, but they're far from it. They're very complex with bits and pieces added on, and so that's why Bob is introducing splines where he's confident of the straight line, and then goes in further to work out where the dock entrances are and how the dock gates are aligned. There are a couple of lifting bridges that need to be fitted along the line to allow for access to docks which are inside to the right here of the Liverpool Overhead Line. And now we're heading towards Clarence Dock. Again, you can see the enormous extent of the harbour estate, Mersey Docks and Harbour Board estate, a really enormous area and very complex to model, but it's going to look great, I think, and very enjoyable to do, very enjoyable to research. These, I think, are graving docks here, I'm not quite sure. A lot of the, apart from the dock walls, all of the detail above ground level has basically got to be modelled by yours truly. And here we are, this is where the lifting bridge will go in to give access to this dock in here, where we have, that's one of mine. Yes, that's one of mine. Very good. Bonded warehouse. Looks the part. And you really do begin to get an impression of the docks when you start putting the shipping in, some of the shipping. But of course we're rather scraping around for ships. There's mine that I've done, both as locomotives and as scenery items, but there's a marked lack of sort of 1920s, 1930s models of ships that we can use, so everything gets pressed into use. Nelson Dock, north of Clarence Dock, brings us on through to some of the more, this is the switchback or the duck under or whatever, and it's here that the Liverpool Overhead drops down to ground level, and across the top here, marked by this black, are the Langston Yorks lines which run to coal coal shipment staves, which, well, you know what I'm going to say, have still got to be modelled and brought in. And but again, the complex of the docks there is quite well seen. It's extraordinary when you consider that docks these days are very much less complex, and are much more for larger ships. But here there was a plethora of small ships regularly operating out of Liverpool. In fact, some of them were just coasters. There's another one of mine, the Pacific. And is that what I think it is? Is that Ranger thingamajig? Worthing. Oh, that's nice. Very much. And you can see there a dockside crane, but frankly we've got a long way to go yet. And cranes, which I am particularly interested in as items to model, and if anybody out there has got detailed plans of cranes, I have some sort of outline plans which I can probably spoof up to be looking reasonable, then please get in touch, let me know, and I'll be happy to make the cranes. And here we have, of course, this is the Great Eastern, my model of the Great Eastern, Brunel's brilliant ship from the middle of the 19th century, and you can see just how enormous she is, even compared to modern ships today. She was an enormous ship. In fact, Liverpool was really the only port that she could operate out of, even though it was meant to be from London and Bristol. So here we are at Canada Dock with the Great Eastern, and you can see some of the track, placeholder track, already there. I think this is that Rangatira? No name on the bows. Very strange. And even getting the geometry there, you can see there, even getting the geometry of these tracks is quite difficult. And over in the distance, look, there's more docks there. And as we're heading north now, Strayslaw Warehouse Company, my goodness. Well, it's a placeholder, that's all I can say about that one. And again, this complexity, it doesn't look very much because it's all at ground level, but this is dock wall here, in position, ready for the docks to be dug by Bob. And here's Brocklebank Dock, which is then followed by Alexandra Dock. And because we're modelling it in the 1920s, 1930s, we've left out Langton Dock and Sandon Dock, which had a very brief, or relatively brief life. And here we are now at Gladstone Dock, and in fact we're off the edge of the world there. We may need to add some more terrain to bring the rest of the docks in. And the next section here, this is definitely going to need more terrain, because this is the curve after Gladstone Dock, which is going to take us into Seaforth Sand Station, which is here modelled just with generic platforms, and you can see, and a station, and you can see the track is not right there. So that's the station that's going to be created, Seaforth Sands, and also the old Seaforth Sands station, which was converted into or was rebuilt as carriage sheds. So that's got to be on a reverse curve round, and then this is really just for operating sessions. This is meant to be Seaforth and Litherland, or rather it's representing the rest of the system. And you can see the black lines there, which Bob has drawn, representing the big junctions with the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway, which is really quite complex. There's a quadruple track just about here, and signal boxes and everything. Signal boxes we haven't even begun with yet. So there we are. That's the situation as we are. Oops. That's the situation as we are with the Liverpool Overhead, and I think you can see there that the appeals that I make about anybody who is interested in making some warehouses, whoa, and cranes and ships, boats, coasters. And that's not what you put your drink on, it's what coasts around the shoreline, and all that sort of dockyard ephemera, which is going to be modelled. And I'm looking forward to doing this one, which is going to be a lifting bridge, a double track lifting bridge. There's going to be Lancs and Yorks rails at that level, at dock level, and LOR at that level, to allow ships to enter the dock there. So there we are. That gives you a good idea of where we are at the moment with the Liverpool Overhead. It has, on this whole length of the line here, it may look like we haven't gone much further forward since the last update, but believe me, the amount of work that's gone into planning out the docks is just extraordinary. And pulling back, we should get, if I pull back gently, should get the maps, I think. Maybe we don't. Oh yes, there we are. Just to spin them round, give you an idea. Just, obviously we're using that in Surveyor. It is a monumental project, and just this little piece, just this little scene here, has really been a lot to work on over the last couple of months. This especially has been really challenging, getting those angles right, getting it all to fit properly. The cliff should be, I think, more red. If you look in on Google Earth Street View, you'll see it's a much more sort of reddy coloured cliff, but I couldn't begin to get a texture that would, or create a texture that would adequately reproduce that, so I've just gone with created a generic one, and that'll be the same. We'll take it along there, and then there's all the retaining wall here, the Lancs and Yorks. This is Grafton Street, as I say, and here is the Herculaneum dock on its way. So there we are. So that's the Liverpool Overhead Railway so far. A long way to go. I suppose it's just as well we've got the lockdown and all the rest of it, because it gives us time to devote to this, though frankly I'd rather not have to. It's an opportunity I could have done without, but I just really like the complexity of these docks and the detail, and especially the way this is now beginning to fit together. If you were to visit this spot today, it looks quite different, because this dock here, Herculaneum dock, has been completely filled in, and this is just in front of the oil casements, which have been preserved. They're English heritage, have preserved them, and but it's a car park, and there's some modern buildings here and apartments, so this is long gone. So you can see we have considerable problems getting accurate scale, sizing, and relative position of all these different elements, but we'll get there. We will indeed. And my first job, I think, is going to be to move those down a bit. So there we are, Liverpool Overhead Railway update, latest update as of mid-August 2020. I hope you've enjoyed this video flyover. I wasn't going to run a session, run the session on it, a cab ride or anything like that. I just thought it would be good to have a look at the overall progress, considerable progress that we've made in creating this remarkable project. So if you have any questions, any comments, any queries, anything at all about it, you're very welcome to post them. I'll aim to answer them, or Bob will answer them. And please do subscribe to my channel, because it does encourage me to make more of these videos. And look out for the next update on the Liverpool Overhead Railway project.